It was a hot and bustling summer day in New York City, August 14, 1945. The streets were alive with people, their faces etched with relief, joy, and a sense of triumph. The news had just broken that Japan had surrendered, marking the end of World War II. The war-weary city erupted in celebration, and nowhere was the jubilation more exuberant than in Times Square. Amidst the throngs of revelers, one sailor stood out in his crisp white uniform, a stark contrast to the sea of civilian clothing. He was a young man, his face bronzed by the sun and etched with the experiences of war. His eyes, though, reflected something different on this day, an overwhelming sense of joy and relief. The sailor had just received the news of Japan's surrender, and like millions of others, he couldn't contain his elation. His heart raced as he navigated through the dense crowd, his destination clear in his mind. He was heading to Times Square's iconic statue, the bronze likeness of Father Duffy, where he knew he would find her, the woman who had been on his mind throughout the long years of war. Across the square, a nurse in a crisp white uniform moved through the throngs of revelers, her heart also filled with a mixture of joy and relief. She had been on duty at the nearby hospital, tending to the wounded and dying, witnessing the sacrifices of so many. Now, with the war officially over, she, like the sailor, was swept up in the tide of celebration. As the sailor approached Father Duffy's statue, he spotted her, a vision of beauty amidst the chaos of Times Square. Her name was Edith, but he didn't know that yet. All he knew was that she was the embodiment of hope and happiness, and he was determined to share that moment with her. With an exuberant grin, the sailor reached out and took Edith by the waist, sweeping her into his arms. Startled but not resistant, Edith found herself locked in a spontaneous embrace, her nurse's cap tilted at an odd angle. The sailor, a stranger, dipped her backward and planted a passionate kiss on her lips. The iconic photograph that would come to symbolize that day was captured in that instant. A sailor and a nurse, caught in a passionate and impromptu kiss, surrounded by a sea of jubilant faces. It was a kiss that would become legendary, forever etched in the annals of history as VJ Day in Times Square. But who were these two strangers brought together by the joy of victory? What had brought them to that moment in Times Square, and what would become of them afterward? For the sailor, whose name was George, the war had taken him from the shores of California to the far reaches of the Pacific. He had witnessed the horrors of battle, lost comrades, and endured long periods of separation from his family. But through it all, he had clung to the hope of a brighter future, a future where he could return to the embrace of loved ones and, just maybe, find a love of his own. Edith, on the other hand, had joined the ranks of nurses during the war, dedicating herself to caring for the wounded and providing comfort to those in pain. She had seen the toll the war had taken on so many, and she had felt the heavy burden of responsibility on her shoulders. But on that fateful day in Times Square, she had allowed herself to let go, to revel in the moment of victory, and to share a kiss with a stranger who had, for an instant, made her forget the world's troubles. As the photograph of their kiss spread across newspapers and magazines, George and Edith became symbols of the jubilation that swept the nation on VJ Day. Strangers approached them on the street, recognizing them from the iconic image, and they became minor celebrities. But amidst the fame and attention, they both longed for something more, a connection that went beyond that singular moment in time. George and Edith corresponded through letters, their words expressing a longing to see each other again. They talked about their hopes and dreams, the world they wanted to build in the aftermath of war, and the possibility of a future together. The war had brought them together in Times Square, but it was their shared vision of a better world that kept them connected. Their reunion took place months later, not in the frenzy of Times Square, but in a quieter and more intimate setting. They met in a small park, far removed from the crowds and the cameras. As they embraced, it was not the passion of their first kiss, but the tenderness of their hearts that held them together. George and Edith's love story unfolded in the years that followed. They married, built a life together, and raised a family. They faced the challenges of post-war America with the same resilience and determination that had carried them through the war. Their love was a testament to the enduring power of hope and the belief that, even in the darkest of times, love could bloom and flourish. As the years passed, The photograph of their kiss in Times Square continued to captivate the world. It became a symbol of the joy and relief that had swept the nation on VJ Day, a reminder of the sacrifices made during the war, and a celebration of the human spirit's resilience. But for George and Edith, it was a reminder of a moment that had changed their lives and brought them together in a world forever altered by the war. In the end, George and Edith's love story was not just about a kiss in Times Square, it was about the enduring power of love to transcend time and place. It was a reminder that in the midst of war and hardship, there could be moments of joy and connection, and that love could flourish even in the most unlikely of circumstances. Theirs was a love story for the ages, a testament to the indomitable spirit of the human heart.